men are still not in position?
Let's go. Garbage men are in position, John.
To us.
Steve!
Look at this man's face. In about 3 minutes, he is going to crack a safe, holding $35 million in gold, underwater, with police closing in. But the real shock is not the heist. It is that one of the men helping him pull it off is already planning to put a bullet in his best friend and take everything. This is the Italian Job, and by the end of this, you will see one of the most satisfying revenge stories ever filmed. At the beginning of the movie, we are introduced to Charlie Croker, a slick, calm mastermind who does not win with guns or muscle. He wins by outthinking every single person in the room. And right from the start, this movie throws us into one of the most jaw-dropping heists ever put on screen. Venice, Italy. A man dips a paint roller into plastic explosive and rolls it across a ceiling in a neat square. Simple, almost boring to watch. But directly above that square sits a safe holding $35 million. He plants a detonator, hits the button, and boom, in broad daylight, right under the eyes of security, that safe drops out of sight and vanishes. The crew hauls it onto a motorboat and tears off across the canals, and security takes the bait, chasing the boat through the water. But watch closely, because here is where you learn how these people think. That safe on the boat, empty, a decoy. The real prize is sitting exactly where nobody would ever look, at the bottom of the canal. And down there, holding his breath against crushing pressure, is John Bridger. He is the soul of this crew, the old master who taught half of them everything they know. The one man Charlie trusts more than anyone alive. He has 7 minutes before the police flood the area. He cracks the safe in 3. Gold spills out, glittering, and the crew is gone, before the first officer even arrives. The getaway is pure poetry. Handsome Rob, the best wheelman alive, runs the guards in circles through the canals, until a massive cargo ship slides across the water and walls them in. They plow into a sand barge and get stuck. Rob does not even look back. Now the crew gathers on a snowy mountaintop, freezing, laughing, alive. They raise their glasses to the future. Everything they ever wanted is finally in reach. Now look away from the celebration. Look at the man in the corner. His name is Steve. Everyone else is dreaming out loud. He is dead silent, and the look on his face is not happiness. It is a decision. Remember that. They head down the mountain to split the gold, and at a dam, 2 cars come out of nowhere and box them in, front and back. No way out. And the man who steps forward? Steve. He was one of them the entire time. He takes the gold they nearly died for. And when John Bridger, the old man, refuses to hand over his dignity, Steve does not blink. He shoots him, right there, in front of everyone. Rob floors the car straight off the edge into the freezing lake to escape the gunfire. But Steve keeps firing into the water, round after round, determined that nobody surfaces, and he only lowers the gun when he sees John's body float up. Still, convinced they all drowned, he smirks and walks away. Here is what he never counted on. Backup oxygen tanks in that car. Barely, one by one, the crew survives, and when they crawl to shore, Charlie pulls John's body into his arms. No words, just grief. And then, slowly, something colder settles into his eyes. This was not over. It was just beginning. A year passes. Charlie hunts everywhere and finally finds Steve. But there is a problem. The gold is locked in a newer, far more advanced safe, and cracking it takes a very specific kind of talent. So Charlie goes to the one person on Earth who has it, Stella, John Bridger's daughter. She has her father's gift in her hands and his stubbornness in her spine. She is legit now, one of the best safe experts in the world. But when Charlie tells her the truth about how her father really died, she does not hesitate. This is not a job anymore. It is personal. Charlie brings her in to meet the team. There is Lyle, the computer genius who swears he invented Napster before his roommate stole it. Left ear, the demolitions expert who lost hearing in one ear as a kid, thanks to fireworks and very bad judgment. And handsome Rob, who once raced across half the state just to break a record for the longest freeway chase. Every one of them loved John Bridger. So this crew is not chasing money. They are chasing payback. They stake out Steve's mansion. It is a fortress. Armed guards. Cameras everywhere. 2 vicious dogs. Then Steve walks out with a heavy suitcase, and they follow him straight to a jewelry buyer. He is selling the gold off, piece by piece, on the black market. Remember that buyer. He matters more than you would think. Now, first problem. They need to get inside that house. So watch how they do it. Rob charms a telecom technician out of her truck keys. Stella pulls on the uniform, and Left Ear quietly snips Steve's network cable. Cameras die. TV turns to static, and Steve does exactly what they knew he would. He calls for a repair. Guess who knocks on his door? Stella walks in with fake ID and a camera hidden on her body. One job, find the safe. And the second she is inside, both guard dogs slam into her window. Her heart stops. But Steve calls them off, and the moment he sees her, this charming stranger, he cannot help himself. He shows off. He struts. He leads her right through his own house. She spots a side room and eases the door open. There it is, the safe. But Steve is sharp. He crosses the room, slams the door shut, and lies right to her face. No cables in there. Stella just smiles, filming everything, then signals Left Ear to reconnect the cable so the cameras blink back to life. And as she is leaving, Steve invites her to dinner. Think about that. The man who murdered her father is asking her out. She wants to scream. Instead, she smiles and leaves the door open, because that dinner might be exactly what they need. Back at base, Lyle builds a full 3D map and hits a wall. The safe is nowhere near the exit, and hauling a 1-ton safe by hand is a fantasy. Then Charlie stares at the layout, and it clicks. The hallway is 6 feet wide enough to drive a car straight through the house. Mini Coopers. They test it, the suspension buckles under the weight. So Rob finds a mod expert named Wrench to rebuild 3 of them into little tanks. And now the movie drops a twist that changes everything. And it starts with one word. At the jewelry shop, the buyer casually mentions Venice. That is all. One word. And Steve's blood runs cold, because those gold bars are stamped with a dancer, a mark tied straight to the Venice robbery that made national news. If this buyer knows, this buyer talks. So Steve kills him and slips out the back just as a car pulls up front. And the man who walks in? The buyer's cousin, a notorious mob boss. He finds his cousin's body and he starts hunting for whoever did this. Steve just made an enemy he does not even know exists. The minis are ready. Steve leaves for his date and the crew races for the mansion. And then, disaster. The neighbors are throwing a party. Blow the gate now, and the whole street sees it. They have to abort. Everything is off, which means Stella now has to sit through that dinner for real. And it is a minefield, because mid-conversation, she repeats a phrase, an old saying, without thinking, and Steve stops. Cold. He says he only ever knew one man who talked like that, a man named John Bridger. Her father. The air goes thin, and Stella, one wrong second from being exposed, knocks over a wine bottle, and on cue, the entire crew rises out of the restaurant and surrounds him. Steve stares. These are the people he watched drown a year ago, alive, right in front of him. Charlie tells him plainly, they are taking the gold back. Steve just laughs, cocky, sure he is untouchable. Then Lyle overhears the one thing that changes the game. Steve is about to move the safe to the airport and vanish. And instead of panicking, Charlie smiles, because now the fortress is coming to him. They will hit the convoy on the road. Rob says there is no way to know which route Steve takes. Charlie says, that is fine, because he is going to choose it for him. And when that convoy rolls out, the crew freezes, because Steve did something they did not plan for. Here is their play. Lyle hacks the entire Los Angeles traffic grid. Left Ear rigs the tunnel. They wait. But Steve rolls out with 3 identical armored trucks, decoys, and watches from a helicopter overhead. Only one holds the gold, and they have no idea which. Could you spot it? Charlie can. Using the cameras, he finds the one truck riding alone, cut off from the others, number 128, and the trap snaps shut. Lyle turns every light green at once, unleashing total gridlock, and funnels the convoy exactly where he wants it. The crew blasts their minis down into a subway station, shoots in front of an oncoming train a split second before it stops, and disappears into the tunnel. Then Lyle freezes that train dead at the platform, sealing the tunnel behind them. Up in his chopper, Steve watches Truck 128 simply, impossibly, vanish. His men sprint to the subway and find the tunnel walled off by a train that will not move. Down in the dark, the minis reach the truck. Rob gasses the driver. Charlie pries the doors open. And the second Stella sees the safe, her stomach drops, because Steve changed it. And that one change could ruin everything. It is a brand new model, with a glass relocker. Drill it wrong, shatter that glass, and the safe locks itself forever. There is no second try, so she does it the only way left, her father's way, by touch. The clock is screaming, everyone is sweating, and her hands start to shake. She nearly quits, but Charlie steadies her, so she closes her eyes, slows her breathing, and lets her father's hands live again through hers. Silence. Click. $27 million in gold. Still there. The crew loads up and floors it. But it is not over. Steve's guards come screaming through the tunnel on motorcycles, guns blazing. Rob wipes one out, and the crew bursts into daylight, and then Steve drops in by helicopter. They cannot lose him, so Charlie makes the bravest call of all. Split up. He becomes the bait. Steve, hungry to take down the leader, chases only him, right into a dead end. Chopper blocking the only exit. It looks finished. And then Charlie does the impossible, forcing that helicopter down and slipping away as Steve screams in rage and hijacks a truck to chase him to the end. But Steve has no idea. The one man who can stop him from boarding that escape train is already on Charlie's payroll. The minis roll onto a waiting train car. Charlie leaps aboard at the last second as Steve hits the station and tries to bribe a ticket inspector to get on. And here is the final twist. That inspector works for Charlie. The doors open, and Charlie steps out, grinning. Steve rips out his gun, and then two huge men press guns to Steve's neck, because Charlie made a deal with the mob boss hunting him for his cousin's murder, and that boss does not want Steve dead easy. He wants him to suffer, and drags him off to a fate far worse than a bullet. In the end, Charlie and the crew reclaim the gold. They avenge John, and they raise their glasses to the future they bled for. Brains over brute force, and one of the most satisfying payoffs ever put on film. That is the Italian job. Now, real talk. If you made it all the way here and enjoyed this breakdown, and you still have not hit subscribe, that is honestly a little heartbreaking. I pour real work into these just for you, and all I am asking is one free click. So do the right thing, tap subscribe, and do not leave me hanging. And before you go, tell me this. If you were building your own heist crew, who is riding with you? The genius hacker, the smooth-talking driver, or the safecracker? Drop it in the comments, and I will catch you in the next one.